You've spoken,
assist.
you've spoken a lot about the economic, and he seems to be speaking to the narrative of what was inherited was a mess, a total mess.
Right. And the reason why I'm so agitated is because there are some things that are factually inaccurate. Number one, this country has borrowed 1.3 trillion, okay, in the period under consideration since the new government came into power. So the so-called tightening of belts in terms of what has happened between now and a year ago, not true. Second, when we say we are tightening our belts, we have a budget. That budget has a deficit. So I guarantee you in the next 12 calendar months, we will also borrow. Yeah. Okay? So, the thing is that I struggle with is how we want to give an economic narrative that is not true. Because when you talk about austerity and you look at how much budget was given between the presidency and the office of the first cabinet secretary or whatever it is you want to call him, 800 million shillings was given for vehicles. Is that austerity? These are facts. Google them. There is a difference between telling Kenyan people that we are tightening our belts when we are actually not. Because what has happened, and when we talk about inflation going down, also not true. Because inflation is cumulative. It is not instantaneous. So when you say it was 7.9 last month, it is 7.3. No, it is 7.9, 7.3 today of what was 107.9 of last month. So, listen, you know, let me finish. The truth is that this country is in economic pain. Now, granted, the whole world is in economic pain. But remember, the reason you choose leaders is to handle crisis. There is no way you are a father in your house. Then you go home and you tell your kids, listen, sleep hungry today because my boss had a bad mood. It does not work like that. You figure it out. That's what leadership is about. The buck must stop somewhere. Okay. Now, this idea that then if you speak about the economic issues in a real sense, then you are anti-government is not true. Because if we are going to fix our country, then we must diagnose our miasma correctly and prescribe the right medication. Yeah. Burying our heads in the sand and saying the globe is like that, that's how things are, that's how the previous regime did, it cannot work.
We inherited an empty...
Listen, when you marry a wife, when you're vibing her, you can tell her, yes, your exes were bad and I'm the best. When you marry her, you cannot start telling her, listen, I would have given you a better orgasm, but your ex messed you up. That's what we are being told as a country.
All right. I like I like where he goes.
You like the analogy?
The orgasmic. So, this is where we started. And the game of numbers is very good to understand it. I can guarantee you Mark has not sat with anybody who has the real numbers. I did. I had an afternoon
how did
with
you
the
guarantee?
current, because I know you haven't. I had an afternoon, nearly 6 hours, with the current Cabinet Secretary of Treasury. And I wanted to know the numbers that Mark has been saying. Oh, they go. Let me tell you, Mark, the movements that happened with the kind of borrowing that happened in the past 5 years was gigantic. And let me shock you on this
economic movement?
Yes.
Okay.
You had to look at what was borrowed domestically. And in fact, he may not know, we never had a problem with our foreign debt. That was not the issue. The issue was with our domestic debt because it was through haphazard borrowing. Now, there's something Mark probably doesn't know, and it's called the economic degradation process. If you ask him to tell you what that is, he may not be able to tell you, but he's quick to say what I alluded before was not based on any facts. And here I'm giving you raw figures. Our major problem continued to be our domestic debt. That's why it was very hard for you to go to a local bank and you get money based on a good interest rate, because we had fashioned it to borrow domestically to even pay for salaries. Who does that? So the economic degradation process really does not start last year, did not start last year or the year before. In fact, what happens is it is something that happens over time. And you may actually be having numbers which look and appear as if your economy is doing good, but your economy is hurting. And when you remove the veil, you realize, wow, when you look at what you've imported vis-a-vis your exports, you realize you have a major deficit. So sometimes it was actually even better, and Mark does not know this, it was better to borrow from outside than domestically.
Mark, do you care to say so?
I'm trying to educate Mark a little bit on the economy because he has said,
let him have a rejoinder.
Wait a minute. He had said the numbers,
were not correct, were not accurate.
That we borrowed 1 point something,
1.3 trillion. Yes.
That is a facade. That's a lie.
My friend, you know,
that is a white
do you have a fact
lie.
checker to Google for him now and put it on the screen?
And
how
easily,
it's been covered by the papers.
How easily you can do that? It's like you telling me, if the cabinet secretary treasury has not talked about it, and you need to know the borrowing. When did that borrowing start? Yeah, when did it start? You know, that's the other thing. Just because somebody has gotten money which was coming anyway.
Just hold on.
Yeah?
Right.
You know, Gabe.
And it's easy to throw numbers. That's what I'm telling you. It's easy to throw numbers. What do you know? There are other things in terms of goods that you get.
Right.
That is counted as debt. For instance, the oil marketers, how much money were they looking from government? Wait a minute. How much money were they expecting government to pay them? The oil marketers. Just look at the oil marketers alone. And that amount of money, whether you like it or not, they posture it as debt. So when they come and say, oh, this government borrowed, it is actually items that were gotten before even they came in. And that's why, that's the balance.
Hand it to him so that he sees.
That's the balance I want Mark to get.
Just hold on.
Yeah?
You know.
Read for me what you said.
Gabe, let me tell you something, right?
No, you read for me.
First, in a debate, you can never know what I know. Okay?
Why can I never know what you know?
No, because it is very insulting, I'll tell you, to say that I don't know.
Because you'd have said it.
No, I said, for example, Kenya has borrowed 1.3 trillion.
Between when and when?
It's right here. He's showing you.
Listen, first result, how Ruto borrowed 1.3 trillion in 9 months, the Star. Okay? And there are very many of them articles to the same. Listen, Gabe, I worked for 4 years in export promotion. Kenya,
because I have the same facts.
Kenya exports. No, I've showed you.
No, you also do. I have the same facts. In fact, mine are coming to from a place. Anyway, let
me finish my statement, Gabe.
Go ahead.
You've worked for export promotion.
I've worked under export promotion for 4 years. And I happened to work for the Treasury for 8 months. Okay? So let's talk about local versus domestic borrowing. Okay? Today, as we speak, okay, what is the percentage that Kenya Kwanza is offering for 3 months bonds? Right? It's 13%. Previous regime was getting away with 9 to 8%. So we are borrowing more expensively today, locally, than we did before. What we are doing today,
which can be very well explained, but I'll explain it to you.
But I'm just showing you things I know, because you are assuming I don't. The point is this, and let me bring this to now the political reality.
Yeah.
Political reality is this. There are people who, like Gabe, will admit that Uhuru's government had a problem, but Ruto's government has none. Okay? Then there is a side of politics that is saying that this country where we are, given the indicators we have, given the finance bill that has been proposed, we will be worse off in a year than we are today. That is the issue. Now, if you feel that the finance bill as it is good for the country, then you're on Gabe's side. I sit on the side where I believe, forget the past, forget everything else. Where we are, if you look at the domestic borrowing percentage, if you look at the international borrowing projected, if you look at the trade deficit that we're talking about, Kenya is not in a good place. But also, there are those of us who are saying, because we pay bills, are saying that the economy will suffer because the ability of the mwananchi to buy things has been reduced, not just by dint of having extra taxes he needs to pay, whether it's a housing fund, whether it is more taxes in terms of salary being taken, whether you're a businessman, it is turnover tax, whatever it is, your spending power is reduced. But at the same time, forget just about the cost of fuel landed. We've also increased 8% of internal tax on the fuel. So we are saying that you're reducing the purchasing power and you're also increasing the cost of goods. And that has nothing to do with the international market. It has to do with the finance bill 2023-2024. And that reality is where the political divide is, where people, some people of Gabe's persuasion are convinced that there is no problem, what we are doing is right.
Okay.
And we are saying that even the problems you're claiming to solve in terms of borrowing, you're still borrowing. If you're claiming to solve that you are cutting expenses, you are not. We've seen people like Mudavadi go to a country we cannot spell and we export nothing to it. So which trips have we reduced?